Hi, this is Stephanie, and I'm so glad you've joined me for another House of Fritz video project. And today I'm going to take a thrifted metal tin box and I'm going to turn it into a seed storage container for my daughter-in-law. She has started quite a few uh, flower beds this year and a vegetable garden, and she's started a lot of it from seeds, and so I thought this would be a perfect item for her to store her seeds in. So I'm going to take the storage container and clean it. I want to make sure that I get all of the dust and anything that's on it off, and so I'm using a wet wipe to do this. This will ensure that the next step, which is priming, will adhere properly. And so I clean it, and then I want to make sure it's dry, and then I'll move on to using the DIY Salvation Solution. DIY Salvation Solution is a great product to use if you have a slick surface, or if you just want to make sure that your paint is going to stick properly. So this is a can that I purchased from someone who was going out of business. So it has sat on their shelf, I'm sure, and I have no idea how long. And then it sat on mine for a couple of months. And so as I opened the can, I realized, wow, this has kind of been sitting for a long time. So it's really important that I make sure that I stir it up well. You can see that there is some sort of buildup from the product, from the moisture that was inside of it as well. But I take it and I clean off the edge, and then I just make sure I mix it really well, because paint and other products will settle to the bottom, and then you definitely just have to mix it really well before you use it. So that's what I'm doing here. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint the lid, paint it with the Salvation Solution, and I'm just trying to put a really good coat on the outer part of the lid and on the outer part of the container. I want to try to do my best to eliminate as many brush strokes as I can as I'm painting it, but it's kind of inevitable that you're going to get some brush strokes when you're using a paintbrush. So that's what I did here, is I put a full coat on the lid, and then I'll work my way to the container. Adding this will ensure that I cover up the words, that there won't be anything that shows through, and then it will help my color stick to it as well. So I'm just going over it and trying to eliminate brush strokes. So I finish up my first coat and try to smooth it out. One thing you can do if you have too many brush strokes is take some fine sandpaper and just gently go over some of those brush strokes, especially if you're putting more than one coat of primer like this on there. Then I pull out my color to put on it, and this is the color Aviary by DIY Paint, and it's one of my favorite colors of green. So I go ahead and lay down my first coat, trying not to make it too thick, but trying to get a decent coat on there. And I just work it on and go around the edges of the container. I did decide to not paint the inside of this can. I didn't feel like it was necessary, so I decided to leave it just as a clean white surface. I'll take out my heat tool and begin to try to help dry it quicker so that I can put on a second coat. It will require more than one coat. And as you can see, as you use the heat tool to dry, you can actually see it dry rather quickly. Even though this video has been sped up, this process, to speed it up so that you don't have to watch me paint every minute of it. But anyway, so as it dries, you can see it dries. It changes, the color lightens as it dries. And then when you go to put on your top coat to seal it, you'll notice the color comes back. So you don't have to worry too much about that. So I start to put on my second coat, and here I'm just doing my best to make it even and work out any additional brush strokes that start to come up. And again, if you have too rough of a surface, you can use a little fine grit sandpaper and sand it back a little bit. Just want to be careful not to scratch it off down to the base coat. So after I finished my second coat, I did apply a top coat, which was called Big Top. It's also a DIY product. And I decided to take out my Iron Orchid Designs stamp, which is a crackle finish, and my black ink so that I can give this can a little bit of texture. I take off a little bit of the ink just so that it doesn't end up being too dark, and then I'll apply the stamp all over the can, the outer part of the can. And there's just no rhyme or reason for the way I place it on there, because when you have aging crackle happen on your paint through the years, it just happens, and there's no rhyme or reason for where it starts. So I just put the stamp down and I press on it to give it more texture, and then I'll turn the can and repeat the process on each side. Then I take my transfer. This is an Iron Orchid Designs transfer, and I place it on the can on the side that I want to adhere it to, and I just begin to rub it off onto the can using the stick that comes with the transfer pack. It's a really beautiful transfer. And so I give it a rub all over, and then I start working from one end to the other end. And as I do that, I lift up the plastic in order to see what's adhered and what hasn't. You know, you're supposed to put it on something that has a top coat or a sealed finish on it. and that helps it to come off a lot easier. And so this doesn't take very long for me to actually adhere it. I just pull it up and rub gently and it comes up. It's actually happening quite easily. And the last little part of it is letters, and that is probably the harder part to get off on any transfer, is the smaller, thinner sections. And then I take the carrier sheet and I burnish the image on there to help it adhere, make sure it's on there really well. You see a couple of small white spots on there. Either some of the paint has come off or paint from the sheet that I am painting on might have adhered to it. Either way, it's going to be easily covered up, so it's not that big of a deal. And this next part, you'll see me take the gold wax, it's also a DIY product, and go around the rim of the can. I have already done the lid. You'll see down there on the lid that I also put a clay seed label, and I did this off of camera. I didn't record that part, but later I'll show you another seed label that I made so that you can see the process. And so here I just go around the edge of the rim of the can and add some gold just to kind of give it an accent. And I've already done it on the lid, you can see here, and I did it on the seed label as well. And here's the additional label I made. I made 2 of them just in case I didn't care for one. And so I put red DIY paint. I can't remember if this was Carnival Red or the other shade, but I go ahead and I paint it, and it actually adheres really easily because this is raw clay that I'm putting it on, and it kind of soaks into it. Sometimes these little things are hard to handle, so I did take out some tweezers that I got in a tool pack in order to paint it. I take my heat tool and dry it. It helps it dry much quicker. And then you'll see me take a little bit lighter color and add to this one. I wanted to see it a little bit pinker. I think I just put a little more pink on this than I did the other one, and it shows up a lot more. So then I dry that color as well. And then I take the gold wax and make sure that I get it really into those letters. And then I'll embellish the whole thing with some of the gold wax as well. This label came from an Iron Orchid Design mold, and it's one that I use often, and I really enjoy it. Here you're seeing me wipe off the excess gold. And here I am putting the lid on the finished can, and I just love how this turned out. It's such a fun project, and I hope that you're able to get some inspiration from it for one of your own projects. And I want to thank you guys for joining me today and going through this process with me. want to ask you guys to subscribe to my channel and like this video and leave a comment letting me know what you think and if you've tried anything similar to this before. And please share this out to someone that you know that might enjoy it and learn from it. I'd really appreciate that, and that helps my channel a lot. So thanks so much, and I hope you guys have a great day. See you next time.